That moment when you realised that your tinfoil hat-wearing friend was correct about everything. They didn't know that they were nothing more than slaves for the rich. Would you believe it? It's 2019 and the people still don't know. Siddhartha Claus is coming to town. He knows you're trapped in duality. He knows you're not awake. He wants you free of all desire. So be free for Nirvana's sake. You better breathe deep and just meditate. You better achieve an enlightened state. Siddhartha Claus is coming to town. He gives you nothing and you like it. Did you know Titanic was a inside job? Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidore Strauss, head of the Macy's department stores, and John Astor, the wealthiest men in the world, were all killed when it sank. Those three men were in the main opposition to the creation of the US Fed. By April 1912, all opposition to the Federal Reserve was eliminated. In December 1913, the Federal Reserve came into being in the USA, controlled by the Illuminati bankers. And of course, as it's common knowledge now, it wasn't the Titanic, it was the Olympic that they switched because the Olympic had been damaged. But either way, they both ended up at the bottom of the sea shortly afterwards. Shit happens for a reason, I guess. Now then, I don't recall F all about F all. We can even tax the air they breathe by calling it the carbon tax. The most appropriate protest sign ever. Shit is effed up and stuff. I am a paid shill and I am full of shit. Anyway, Sinead O'Connor exposed church sex abuse in '92. Corey Feldman exposed paedophiles in Hollywood. A UN report found they employed 3,300 paedophiles. Daniel Tosh exposed a paedophile channel on YouTube with 12 billion views. Bill Clinton and many politicians flew Epstein's Lolita Express. An actress trafficked kids for all an elite sex cult. The media cover-up Jimmy Savile's paedophilia. A former UK PM raped kids and it was covered up. And people still think elite paedophile rings are just a conspiracy theory. Here's to all you dumbasses who still believe voting for corrupt politicians will somehow magically fix government corruption. Cheers. A brief history of time. There are 14 days to save the NHS. Tony Blair, 17th of April 1997. We have only 24 hours to save the National Health Service. Tony Blair, 30th of April 1997. 6 weeks to save the NHS. Morning Star, 21st of March 2009. I think the government has a little longer than 24 hours to save the NHS, but not much, maybe 6 months. Christine Hancock, General Secretary of the Royal College of Nurses, 3rd of April 2000. We have 48 hours to save our NHS. Mirror, 10th of October 2011. We have 6 weeks to save the NHS. John Lister, Director of London Health Emergency, 11th December 2011. We have just 3 months to save the NHS. Ed Miliband, 4th of February 2012. 12 days to save the NHS. Does Doc set to derail Cameron's health reform bill? Mirror, 26th of February 2012. We have 13 days to save the NHS. Unite General Secretary Len McCluskey at Rally Against Health and Social Care Bill, 7th of March 2012. Only 24 hours to save the NHS. Mirror, 20th of March 2012. 6 months to save our NHS. John Lister, Director of London Health Emergency, 10th of September 2012. You have 5 days to save the NHS. Lord Reid at rally against Scots independence, 14th of September 2014. 4 months to save the NHS. Mirror, 4th of January 2015. We only have 100 days to save the NHS as we know it. Ed Miliband, 27th of January 2015. Just 52 hours to save our NHS. Mirror, 5th of May 2015. That's all the programme they've been putting out into you to make you think that the NHS can't survive. It could survive very easily if we got rid of the crooks at the top. A message from Esther and Abraham and Jerry Hicks. You are the creator of your own reality, and so you are not in jeopardy. You do not need to control the behaviour of others in order for you to thrive. Your attention to things that you think they do that keeps you from thriving is, in fact, what keeps you from thriving. It is not what they do to you, it is what you do to you in fear of what you think that they will do to you. 5th of December 25, or 12th of March, April, May 2005, yeah. Now, if this wasn't so ridiculous, you'd think it would be a joke, but it's not. Blind man has benefits axed after not replying to DWP letter that he couldn't read. Alan Moody, 60, could not read the letter sent to him by the Department of Work and Pensions summoning him for a work capability assessment. A severely disabled man and had his benefits cut because he didn't respond to a letter even though he's blind. Alan Moody, 60, was declared unfit to work by his GP 10 years ago after being diagnosed with cerebellar ataxia, a rare genetic brain condition. Despite this, Alan from Stanley, County Durham, was summoned to a Department of Work and Pensions work capability assessment to qualify to receive employment and support allowance of around $450 a month. One of the effects of his condition is blindness, and because of this, he did not read the letter sent to him by the DWP. As a result of his non-reply to the DWP, took the decision on November 2nd to stop paying him this allowance. These who do this should be in jail. Rice v. Connolly, 1966. At common law, there is no legal duty to provide the police with information or otherwise to assist them with their inquiries. Lord Parker set out 3 questions to be answered when asking whether there had been an obstruction of an officer in the execution of his duties. Was there any obstruction of a constable? Was the constable acting lawfully in the execution of his duty? And 3. Was the obstruction intended to obstruct the constable in the execution of his duty? Lord Parker CJ said, "It is also, in my judgment, clear that it is part of the obligations and duties of a police constable to take all steps which appear to him necessary for keeping the peace, for preventing crime and for protecting property from criminal injury. There is no exhaustive definition of the powers and obligations of the police, but they are at least those that, and they would further include the duty to detect crime and to bring an offender to justice. It seems to me quite clear that the defendant was making it more difficult for the police to carry out their duties, and that the police at the time and throughout were acting in accordance with their duties. The only remaining ingredient, and the one upon which the judgment this case revolves, is whether the obstructing of which the defendant was guilty was a willful obstruction. Willful is in this context, not only in the judgment, means intentional, but something which is done without lawful excuse, and that indeed conceded. Accordingly, the sole question here is whether the defendant had a lawful excuse for refusing to answer the questions put to him. In my judgment, he had. It seems to me quite clear that although every citizen has a moral duty, or, if you like, a social duty to assist the police, there is no legal duty to that effect. And indeed, the whole basis of common law is the right of the individual to refuse to answer questions put to him by persons in authority, and to refuse to accompany those in authority to any particular place short of course of arrest. And in my judgment, there is all the difference in the world between deliberately telling a false story, something which no one view a citizen has the right to do, and preserving silence or refusing to answer, something which he has every right to do accordingly. In my judgment, looked at the perfectly general way, it was not shown that the refusal of the defendant to answer the questions or to accompany the police officer in the first instance to the police box was an obstruction with willful lawful excuse. Status Police Act 1964 51(3). Jurisdiction England and Wales. The case cites. You don't have to give your name to the police. Ever. What you are changing, you are choosing. Public Health England issues LED street light warning. Public Health England has warned that high levels of blue light in LED street lighting can be uncomfortable and are known to cause damage to the retina. The executive agency of the Department of Health has suggested that daylight running lights on cars can mean that older drivers will be dazzled by oncoming vehicles, with the risk that they may not see hazards until it's too late, a problem exacerbated by fog. LED street lights have been used to replace older forms of street lighting across the UK, as they are much cheaper to run, easier to control and can have less light dispersal. However, John O'Hagan of Public Health England warns that social and health factors should be considered as well as financial. Civil war. Swedish citizens rise up to protest globalism. If only we had the backbone to do it in this country. Citizens across Sweden have begun rising up to protest globalism in solidarity with hundreds of thousands of French protesters. As the anti-globalist movement continues to sweep across Europe, the people of Sweden took to the streets of Stockholm over the weekend, protesting the UN's Migration Pact. VoiceEurope.com reports plenty of Swedish flags, placards and yellow vests were seen. Children participated as well. "We are not extremists, we are ordinary Swedes," shouted the protests. It is not about political colours. It's about the people. One of the speakers, journalist Katrina Jokos, stated, "I am here for the 9-year-old girl who was raped and beaten in a junk room. I am here for all the women who no longer dare go out. I am here for the poor elderly who paid tax their whole lives and now are forced to starve. I am here for the homeless. I am here for those who don't get what the social contract promises." According to Janocha, all Swedes, regardless of political affiliation, should participate in the demonstration and protest against the politics in Sweden. Same as this country. We don't need more diversion in this country. It is the ones in power that want us to turn against each other. We need to unite. I want the Swedish people to stand together against the abuse of power that's going on in Parliament. That's all parliaments. We will not give up, she continued. I'm originally from Czechoslovakia, and in 1989 the dictatorship fell. It is called social revolution. Do you know how it started? The pen, the written word. The first time there were 30 people. They were arrested. Next time there were 300, and then came 3,000. Then the social revolution was a fact, and we can do the same thing, she told the cheering crowd. Polio outbreaks in Africa caused by mutation of strain in vaccine. So the vaccines are causing it. This is the plan. New cases of highly infectious disease that should be consigned to the history books reported in Nigeria, the DRC, CAR and Angola. New cases of polio linked to the oral vaccine have been reported in 4 African countries, and more children are now being paralysed by vaccine-derived viruses than those infected by the virus in the wild, according to global health numbers. The World Health Organization, WHO, our partners, identified 9 new cases caused by the vaccine in Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Central African Republic and Angola last week, along with 7 other African countries. With outbreaks, cases have also been reported in Asia, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan. Polio remains endemic, and in Pakistan officials have been accused of covering up vaccine-related causes. The DWP have been forced to admit people are dying under universal credit. The Department for Work and Pensions has been forced to reveal it's already investigating deaths under universal credit, but it only releases the secret file due to a Freedom of Information request. The DWP, more damning revelations. When a claimant dies or takes their own life, the DWP has to review its involvement. This is called an internal process review, IPR, or peer review. As full fact reported, often it only reveals the reviews via FOIs. They have been dragged by controversy. Green Party co-leader Jonathan Bartley at one point likened the DWP's actions to a cover-up. Because it is a cover-up. Is this one of the big things they're pushing at the moment? The norovirus. Wards shut in Royal Hull Infirmary as staff tackle norovirus outbreak. Norovirus closes wards at Scarborough Hospital. More than 50 people have been put on out of use at Scarborough Hospital after an outbreak of the norovirus. A number of wards and bays have been closed due to the highly contagious seasonal vomiting bug. The Scarborough and Rydale Clinic Commission group is now asking residents with vomiting and diarrhoea symptoms to stay at home away from GP surgeries and other hospitals. Grantham Hospital restricts admissions. An outbreak of a winter vomiting bug has forced Grantham and District Hospital to restrict admissions to its wards. A decision was taken after patients began experiencing winter norovirus symptoms, which will be designed by them, of course. A spokesman said that the means was a precaution to prevent further spread of the virus, and the hospital remained open. Patients in the affected wards are being moved elsewhere on this site. Norovirus outbreak in Hull Royal Infirmary. 4 wards have been closed at Hull Royal Infirmary due to an outbreak of norovirus. Anyone who has experienced the symptoms is in the last 48 hours is being urged to stay away. Vomiting bug spreads to Hull hospitals. Hull's Royal Infirmary and the city's Castle Hill Hospital have become the latest in our region to close wards because of a winter vomiting bug. The number of cases has almost doubled last year. Norovirus closes 2 wards at York Hospital. An outbreak of winter vomiting bug has closed 2 wards at York Hospital. Health bosses are urging people who have been unwell not to visit until they are been symptom-free for 48 hours. Norovirus in Sheffield. 4 wards at Sheffield's Northern General Hospital closed after an outbreak of the disease, the vomiting virus. It's a virus, you know. The units were accepted new patients for the next 2 days, Michael Billington reports. Norovirus bug closes 4 wards closed at Sheffield Northern General. 4 wards are closed at Sheffield Northern General Hospital after norovirus or the winter vomiting bug was confirmed. Every winter norovirus becomes active in the local community, and we begin to see patients with it on our wards. Currently we have 4 wards at the Northern General Hospital temporarily closed to new patients. This is just one of the precautions we take to limit other patients from being affected. We are also asking the public for their help in preventing the spread of the nasty winter bug. We are asking visitors only to visit the hospital if it's absolutely necessary in a bid to minimise the risk of the bug coming into wards from people in the community. We would like people to think about whether they are or anyone closer to them, such as family, friends or colleagues, have had diarrhoea, vomiting or fever within the last 72 hours. If this is the case, then they should avoid visiting hospitals, both to protect themselves, their relatives and friends. Wards reopened, Chesterfield Royal. Well, is this the big depopulation virus they're releasing on us? This will be in the flu virus they give you. I can almost guarantee that. The Observer. Calls grow to stop Johnson with tactical voting as race tightens. Huge polls shows too many Tory majority halved. Just 40,000 votes could swing result. Overview of the election. Patients' data from GP surgeries sold to US. Express. Boris Brexit is now up to you. Take last chance to leave EU by voting Tory in historic election. If you're voting for your own enslavement, as the video I put out earlier. Slave code. Look it up if you've not seen it. Telegraph. Tories unveil strict limits on unskilled migrants. Yeah, bullshit. Retired senior judge attacks Corbyn on anti-Semitism. Oh yeah, of course he did, you stupid. The Fail. As Simon Wiesenthal Centre calls Corbyn's Labour the biggest global threat to Jews, Boris rallying cry. Save us from a Friday 13th horror. Second witness, I saw Andrew with Virginia. Playboy's bid to use Charles' name in fraud. Mirror. I'm a celeb's secret past. Jungle Cliff jailed for bank robbery. People. Willie Thorne's ex, his lover notes to another woman broke my heart. Crack dealer, teacher. I want to go back to work. Mum tells of rehab fight against county lines hell. Waste of paper. £10. How much is this? £1. I don't know. I'm a celeb exclusive. Holly's jungle snub. Bring her back plea as ratings tumble. Silly Willy. Q Stars love chats went to wife's iPad. The Sunday Times. Confessions of a Doctor. Adam Kay. 'Twas the night before, shift before Christmas. Yeah. Exposed the secret Labour files of shame. Leaked internal documents reveal shocking record of tackling new anti-Semitism. That's just bullshit, that is. 10 points ahead. Johnson aims for victory with immigration pledge. So they're going to fix it so Johnson wins then by looks of it. Cancer patients face record weight. It's a Brexit. Boris predicts British baby boom. Yeah, well, you've been making sure we don't boom, haven't you, by making us all infertile. When your dog eats your philosophy homework. Just picked up my new Christmas tree from IKEA. Honey, tell me what's wrong. Fire trucks are actually water trucks. Christmas will be the same for most men, sitting at the table with a fat bird that doesn't gobble anymore.